Come on, I know you can. Look really, really close. Walk up. Can you see it yet?
No.
All right, I'm gonna show it to you, okay?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
because it's bothering me that I can't
I'm
see.
filming it right now.
It bothers me though that my eyes are not seeing this stuff anymore.
Yes, they are. You just haven't walked up on one.
Well,
Here.
obviously I would have walked over this one.
Take a couple more steps. Can you see it?
No. You just
Really?
showed it to me.
Okay, here it is.
Right here.
Yep.
I was looking out here.
There it is right there.
Look, I was looking out here.
All right,
But no, I would have walked over that.
no, you wouldn't have. It's a nice little stunner. Nicely worked. All right. Okay, my wife's gonna walk up on a really good one. Let's see if we can see it here. White. All right, pick it on up out there.
Oh, it's broke. What, baby?
Oh, it's a real heartbreaker. Okay, Heartbreak Creek, there you go. That's why we call it Heartbreak Creek. Okay, my baby's hot today. Here we are in the creek, still in the creek, about 30 minutes later. And this is what she finds. Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's broke.
It's got a little, yeah, wow.
Oh my goodness.
That's a heartbreaker.
Oh, it's
Nice.
oh, it's got a little nick there and a notch there. Wow. Tag on it.
Still good find. Yeah, here's one of those big old giant crayfish that they just discovered a year or two ago. I've been playing with these since I was a little kid. Right, we got something here. I don't know what it is. We've already found one heartbreaker today. And this is going to be another one. Yeah, just a butt end of one right there. Darn it. All right.
Sure it's not a blunt?
Yeah, I'm sure. All right. It's been about 5 minutes since I found the cob's blade. My brother's done come up on this one right here. All right, pick it up. Let's see what we got there. Looks like a turkey tail. Oh, careful, careful. Yeah. Oh my goodness, that's pretty.
Maybe off that wing.
Yeah, just a couple little chips off of it, but look how nice that is. Unbelievable. Number 2.
Yep.
My wife and I still walking. 3 passes over this berm here. We wanted to cover it really good. on the last pass. Nice little bird point. Well, I don't know if that's an arrow, definitely. One little nick off the wing right there. Otherwise, beautiful. Nice. Still got that much more of the rock to walk. Okay, let's do it. Okay, this is my friend Casey James. Casey, you had an experience out in Geneva, Kentucky, right, that you've been wanting to tell me about. So let's talk about that. When did this happen?
This happened in March of 2019. My wife and I were down in Smith Mills. We lived in Geneva, and we were down at Smith Mills down there right on the Ohio River, Arrowhead hunting. It was late at night. Probably about 1:30 in the morning when this happened, and we were hunting by a headlamp. And when we pulled up, there was a fire burning. The farmer had pushed up his driftwood, set it on fire, and just left. And it was a pretty big fire, and it kind of set the whole, I guess, landscape for what ended up happening. And I didn't expect anything to this happen. We've talked about this, and I didn't believe at all. I was not a believer. Like I said, I've known Bart for a long time. I've known his brother. Heard the stories, and I laughed in their face as a child, as a dumb child. And anyway,
You don't laugh at them anymore.
I know I don't laugh at it anymore. As a matter of fact, a week after this happened, I went to your brother's house and apologized to him for laughing at these stories. And one of the first names that popped in my head when I realized what I was looking at. But we get out and we get to looking around, and we've been finding a lot of really nice things here. So we're looking about, and I hear the only thing we can hear is what I believe is my wife throwing rocks at me. And I hear little ticks going across the ground. Tick, 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 tick. I was like, stop throwing stuff at me. And she said, I'm not. Well, the further and further she got away from me, and the more and more I heard it, I realized that no, she was not. But I didn't know what was, and I thought maybe the crackling. I've had drums and guitars bashing in my head for years. It could be the crackling of the fire that I'm hearing. Come to find out, it wasn't. She works down away from the fire. I work right in this fire is right on the edge of the gravel road where they push it up, and probably one of the best places to have the fire if they was going to leave it.
Right.
So I'm knelt down on the other edge of the gravel road right across the street from the fire, and I start hearing the tick, 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 tick again. And I look up at the fire, and standing above this fire is just, it's kind of just dark black. I can see light sort of flickering, and it's not until it sort of turns to the side and walks away that I realize that I'm looking at this thing that's over 10 feet tall. And just, I come up, and I've got a pistol on my hip, grab it, not fully pulled yet, and as I look forward, when this thing is gone behind the tree line, it exposes another one that was standing behind it, blocked by its massiveness, and it throws its hands up when it's standing in my lamp and takes off running back down the field the same way that the other one went. By that time, I pull my pistol. I keep my eyes on this fire, yelling at my wife, cussing. We do not argue. We do not fight. I do not cuss her. I was cussing at, get your ass to the car. That's about as far as I'm going to go into that. There was plenty of other expletives thrown in there because I was scared to death. My heart and my stomach traded places. And I've been in several situations where, where humans didn't scare me. Several humans couldn't scare me as much as this scared me.
Right. What do these things look like?
The big one behind the fire had no features other than it was just, man, like a bodybuilder. But a 10 to 11, 12 foot tall bodybuilder. I don't know, because this fire is as tall as my head standing up. And the way that I'm knelt down, I'm looking at an extreme angle to see up to the top of it. So I can only imagine that it's taller than a basketball goal.
Right.
But as broad as like a refrigerator. Just massive. Moves to the side. The other one, from what I could tell, looked like the depiction in the Harry and the Hendersons. About 7 to 9 feet tall, looked like Harry and the Hendersons character.
Right, covered with hair.
That one was more light colored. I'm not gonna say it was not blonde or red. It was just more lighter colored than the one that was behind the one that was behind the fire was like black, almost. But the fire shimmering on it. You ever see somebody telling you look different when you got a flashlight in your face?
Yeah. So how did it make you feel when you saw these things?
It made me feel like I didn't know anything.
So did it scare you, or did it? I know you're surprised, but to find out that things like this really exist. But so you was worried for your life, or you're trying to get out of there, right?
I was walking backwards. I was keeping an eye on my wife because she was coming from. She had to been a couple hundred yards down the road. She did not see what I saw.
Right.
And she didn't know what was going on. She thought legitimately that I was mad at her for throwing stuff at me. Right?
Right.
But it was so quiet down there that I wouldn't have even had to yell at her. But she had to have been 300 yards down the road. She made a V towards me and the vehicle as I walked straight backwards. And I was shaking so bad that had I even pulled the trigger on anything, I wouldn't have hit it. Because I was so terrified. I was terrified.
Right.
My like I say, my heart and my stomach traded places, and that's never happened.
Yeah.
If a man confronted me, and that's the thing. There was a man will confront you with words and just different mannerisms and actions all the way around. These things were watching me, or the one. I don't think the second one even knew really that we were there. I think that they come up out, the big one was coming up that tree line, got to the fire. I think he was concerned about the fire. I don't know. Right. I just don't know. But when I got to the car and started unloading my pockets from the arrowheads I found, as I'm spinning around the tree line that divides the road from the river that runs right there, I noticed a lot of eyes, a lot of glowing eyes with my headlamp hit it.
Right, eye shine.
Because I'm spinning around, I'm thinking this thing is so big that it could hop across the field and got us. So I got my gun still spinning circles as I'm emptying my pockets, and I notice all these eyes shine in the woods. And I walk over to the corner of the woods right there, and there are deer laying down with coyotes and bobcat, and there is raccoons and bobcats in the trees, just being as quiet as they can possibly get. And if they would have went any further than where they were at, they would have fell off the riverbank into the water.
Wow. So they was getting away from the creature.
They were getting away from that spot right there. The same thing I was doing the same thing they were doing. They were scared to death and was trying to be as far away from that point as they could possibly get. They didn't want to be near that spot.
Right. And you said earlier when we was talking that when you and your wife pulled up, first thing you noticed was a dead silence there.
It was weird. It was
no crickets.
There was no crickets. It was like that at my house. Where we lived in Cairo that's probably a good 20, 30 minutes from Smith Mills Bottoms down there, and it was that way at my house. I was standing outside waiting for her to get off work that night, and just the overall feeling of the night was it just had this creepiness to it that I can feel right now. I mean, it is like it, this was March 2019. It happened. It feels like to me like it happened yesterday. I can still see it every day of my life. I see it.
Right. These creatures, what their faces, did they have any eye shine through their
No.
eyes? Or were eyes
I'm looking at
wide?
them with a 300 lumen headlamp and they're standing behind a fire looking at me with no eye shine. There was no anything like that.
Right.
Which I thought was really weird, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. People say that your mind can play tricks on you. I've never had my mind play a trick like that on me. I'm just like I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I seen these. They were there, and that's all there is to it. Too many people have come up to me after the fact, and people that I didn't even know, and start talking about the same thing at the exact same spot and give me hugs because I seen it too.
Right, and that's the guy whose kids won't go back there.
This guy said him and his kids had 2 experiences down there, and they will not go back down there today. And as a matter of fact, he was riding around down there alone. Asked me why I had the gun that I had on my side.
Right.
And I said for whatever it was, that it wouldn't have made a difference. A gun won't make a difference, I don't think, on something like that could have taken a step across that road and grabbed me and ripped me in half. It was that big. I'm little. We are, you know what it taught me? It taught me that I'm small and that I don't know anything is what it taught me.
That's crazy. You're 100% sure of everything that you've seen, right?
Yes.
That night. So let me ask you this: have you ever had anything else strange happen to you down there in that area? Have you ever seen anything else that was unusual there?
Well, other than the fact that at that spot was that whole thing was after looking back on it and putting a few days together, it was sort of a 3-day event, because the day before it happened, when my wife had to work, she left. I'm down there, still looking for my rocks, and I just had to stop all of a sudden, and I didn't look up. Something told me don't look up, and I gotta go. It's time to go. I got my car and I left. And that was the day before this happened. And it was like something was all around me.
Right.
And it wasn't that day felt more like a supernatural kind of feeling, like a ghost, and you're down there in these spots where there have been several civilizations over and over and over again on top of each other. Right. And no telling the energy that is channeling in that spot to begin with, and you're out there standing on it.
A lot of crazy things happen down there.
Yeah, you're out there standing on it alone with no other human being anywhere around you. So it's very hard when you have something like this happen for people to go, oh yeah, well, man, I've never seen it, so there's no way you've seen it. Well, I'm sorry if you feel that way.
Right.
And I'm sorry that it hasn't happened. If you want it to happen, I hope it happens. But I didn't want it to happen. I didn't believe it. And I don't ever want it to happen again. I don't want to see these things. I don't.
Yeah, it's not a very pleasant experience. So you was telling me earlier that you went back the next day and looked for footprints where you was backing up through the mud and footprints of the creatures.
We went back the next day and there was nothing. There was absolutely nothing. No footprints, anything. And same kind of scenario. My wife had to go to work. We met down there to look for I got off work. She was getting ready to head to work. We met down there, looked for the footprints. My footprints, where I know I backed through the mud, were not there. Her footprints through the mud were not there. There was no footprints across the street where the remnants of the fire was leading off down the field. And I would expect, man, something that is that big and tall and immense would leave some sort of footprint. But there was no signs of like wiping a footprint away. It was just exactly like if you went down there right now you wouldn't see anything.
Right.
There was nothing, and it. So when she left that day, I continued my stay down there for a little bit, and that's when the forest came alive, and what sounded like something had to have reached up in a tree and ripped the top part of the tree off and started beating the rest of the forest with it. And again, there's nobody out there but me. No car had come through there for an hour. You know, it was almost dark, and that's when I pulled one of my pistols out and I put it in the air and I just started firing up and yelled and just had it with what was going on, because I was literally traumatized, and I didn't sleep for 3 weeks. I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks. All I could think about was this. I carved a statue of what I seen and I made a drawing of it. I don't know where that drawing is, but I don't even draw, and I'm not a wood carver, but I did it and it looked like what I seen.
Yeah.
You know, but I can say that it has sparked a fire inside of my life and changed me as a human being, regardless of the fact that I don't ever want to have this experience again. And
Yeah.
then,
Well, now you know. Jim, would you say they were Bigfoot? Is that the name you would put to these creatures? Or would you put it in some other category? Harry and the Hendersons obviously was a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
movie, right?
yeah. That's the name that obviously they have occurred, because of course, if you find a track, and I know that there have been tracks found, they got a Bigfoot. Why not call them Bigfoot? It works for me, you know, but I that's not the point.
Right.
The name and what we call them is not
Well,
the
we
point.
have a whole bunch of different types of humanoids, even down in Geneva. Bigfoot's not the only inhumanoid there. So I have a lot of reports of Bigfoot activity from Geneva, from
We did a lot of
literally dozens of people.
We did a lot of hunting down in the lower Geneva, to like near Geneva Beach, right there too. A lot of walking out there, and I've got to say that sometimes you would get a feeling that, like, we're not exactly alone right now.
Right.
You know, you get this, like, there's something that has an eye on us, especially if you go down that what's that, West Franklin, that goes down all the way and you get to where Geneva Beach is.
Yeah.
And there's those concrete walls where some sort of bridge used to be. Maybe they had an old railroad bridge that come across the river right there at some point. I don't know, but there's these big concrete walls out there.
Yeah.
So if you're going out there,
What is it? It's landing. We call it Black's Point.
I don't know.
The name of the road is something landing. Yeah.
If,
I know exactly
so
what you're talking
if you
about.
go out there, then you sort of turn down this dirt road and there's a big concrete wall out there. Well, if you go out there, so then you would be sort of on the opposite side of the river from the backside of Gibbs die casting. That is where, when you get out there really kind of close to the river and in that big bend back there where nobody sees, you can't even see anything back. When you get back there and look back towards your car looks like a little smaller than a micro machine.
Yeah.
You're so far out. And when you get back in there, sometimes you would hear some, bobcats can be aggressive.
Right.
I've had them sitting underneath my deer stand looking at me, licking their lips, so no telling what's milling around, but you sometimes could feel like there's a presence here and we're not exactly alone, you feel great. But I have like, I don't know, a sensitivity to things. It's not just that. Sometimes I feel like places can just be haunted. It's not even anything that's a solid physical creature. It could be literally, just spirits antagonizing. Yeah.
Just appearing as what they want to appear as, right?
Yes.
So you was telling me earlier about the time your wife found 3-toe footprints. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yes. This was just all in about a month's time. And we got to walking in a creek that was near my mom's house in Cairo, Kentucky, about 4 miles from Pool Town. We come across these in succession, like it was walking, both both sets of prints. It looked like a human footprint with 3 big toes off the end, about the same size each toe. And my wife isn't scared of much, but these kind of freaked her out, and we kept seeing them. She said, if I see them one more time, I'm out of here. We saw them one more time, and she, sure enough, was out of there. And just a couple weeks after that, I went walking in the same creek by myself, got out, didn't have any experience in the creek, but when I was walking back up the street, where the field line meets where they meet the corn and the beans, I look out to where the tree line. I'm just looking. I'm just observing. I love the the look of the wilderness.
Yeah.
I'm just taking it all in, and I notice you can see about maybe 7-8 feet of the tree trunks on the tree line. That's probably, I'd say, from where I was at was about 150 yards to the creek from where I just walked, but out to that tree line is a good 265, 300.
Yeah.
It's further that way than it is this way.
Right.
So you can just see sort of underneath the trees. And I noticed that these 2 trees traded places, the tree trunks. And it was sort of a light, the trees there in that spot are like light gray. And I just happened to notice it, and I stopped, and I backed up and it backed up. I went forward and it went forward, and I watched it pass a tree 3 or 4 times. So I know that it isn't just a optical illusion, from where I'm standing, because it's mirror imaging. It's not doing it until I'm doing it, after me even a little bit. So I'm sitting there, and it takes 3 leaps and is back down to where that creek bend is, because it goes down the field and comes back out up to 416.
Right.
Is how that creek goes.
A tree, basically.
The color of a tree, I didn't notice appendages, on this. I'm just sort of like, oh no, I didn't want. Here's another weird thing. That's what was going through my mind as I'm standing here going like, no, this is not happening to me, because I felt like it was happening to me on purpose.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I just randomly said. And I don't think, listening to the stories that I've heard you tell me and Dean tell me, and your nephews and cousins, and like, man, I know your family, man, and I've hung out with them lots, and I know the stories that they've told me. There's no way that wasn't on purpose.
Right.
They chose to. I feel, even not having believed this ever in my life, I feel that it chose to do that to y'all.
Oh, sure.
Chose you for whatever reason. I don't know. Maybe for this reason, to even be talking about it and bringing it to light.
Right.
Because there's so many people people talk about being woke in this world. See some of this stuff from yourself, and you'll know what the definition of that really means.
They really don't know anything.
They don't, and that's the thing, is like, waking up is realizing that you don't know anything, and that the more and more you think you know everything, the less you know, and the less chance you'll ever have of seeing something like this. God says you got to slow down to hear me. You got to slow down to hear me.
Right.
And if you're just in this fast-paced world, and that's what was happening to me in my life. I was fast-paced for years, playing all over the country, playing with a lot of people, and traveling and doing so. I never looked up from a guitar ever in my life. But I needed something. I felt like a failure in that. And I needed something to turn my life around. And I never in a million years, or 44 years that I've been, but never in a million years where I thought it would have ever been anything like this.
Right. And
So
you said there was a black helicopter around that area that you saw the tree.
Yes, I when I get home from when this experience happens, I watch this thing jump back to the woods. I just continue my walk back up to the house. I get there, my mom's in the kitchen walking up towards me. She looks at me and she's like, "You are whiter than a sheet." And I was like, "Well, I just saw something else, and it was not any kind of Bigfoot or anything like that." This was, told her the story, what just happened. A couple days later, we're sitting on our porch, and this helicopter that looks like the Mercedes-Benz of helicopters. It had tinted windows. It was solid black, closed-in tail fin. Was like this, inverted over that exact spot. Because I can see that spot. I could point to you in several spots from my porch where I have found arrowheads. And I could see that spot from my mom's porch. And it was right over that, just going around. And I'm like, I look at my wife, I said, they are looking for whatever it was I seen over there. Because,
They look for the footprints.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, we didn't get a chance to tell
So they
anybody
were-
about
they
that.
were
I was like,
hovering around,
yeah,
right?
they were hovering around, looking up and down that creek. I mean, they were going up and down, getting as low to the trees, just hovering right over that spot.
Forever.
And I told her, I said, I would like to talk to the people in that helicopter.
Yeah.
And I should have went over there I should have jumped off my porch, ran over there into the field, and done like this,
Yeah.
and waved them down and told them what I seen, because that was crazy. So I'm fast forward, just, I don't know, maybe a month. I'm loading up a bunch of scrap on a trailer to take it, and my neighbor comes over and notices that I've loaded up this old lawnmower, and he asked how much I wanted for it. And we get to talking and bull crapping, and I told him about this, and he said, and this guy is, boy, I'm telling you, he is straight up. He goes to church every Sunday, very religious fella.
Yeah.
And I told him about what I seen out there on the creek line, and he said, man, I saw the same thing.
Really?
Yes, and he said he saw it in the stand of trees that's literally right across the street from my mom's house. There's a circle right out in the middle of the field, and there's an old tobacco barn in there that he used to. I used to watch them haul in there from when I was a kid.
Right.
They don't use it anymore, but he said he was just standing out on his back porch, and he saw, and it's kind of the same thing where, it's a nice tree line, but you get your foliage hanging down, and you can only see about so much of the bottom of the trees.
Yeah.
And he saw what looked like two trees trade
Could you
places.
see it? Did it have anything like leaves on it?
I,
Moving with it? or
from what I
anything
saw,
like that? It's
was
so
way too
strange.
far away. I had no binoculars or anything like that to
Yeah.
get in. And it's a shame, man. I'm not, a huge tech guy, especially being clumsy. I don't like taking my phones or anything into the creek or anything, because I don't want. Man, in the last 2 years, I've had 10, 15 phones.
Wow.
We're klutzes with phones, and I try to keep it out of the creek. And not that I don't think that I wasn't ready for any of that, and I don't think you ever really are. So
Right.
the people who have, in the past year, there has been a few things posted, like from Land Between the Lakes, even,
Yeah.
that was pretty compelling footage. But who knows?
Right.
I don't have any hard evidence to show you. We don't have the pictures. All I know is that I have the fear of whatever it is out there,
Right.
that, because you don't know what really wants to hurt you and what not. And if you're defenseless against whatever. If something can hop 3 times and clear 140, 150 yards,
Clear an
It's
acre.
crazy.
you can't
It's just crazy.
you can't defend yourself against something like that. So it is scary,
Yeah.
especially when you know that something like this can rip you apart.
Yeah.
Do you guys still go back out there?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
All the time.
yeah. As a matter of fact, she made me. She's like, you're not going to let this like ruin your what you like to do. So
Right.
so we
That's
went
good
every
advice,
night
Christine.
after that. We went
Very
every
good.
night after that, and I'm telling you, but I had my handheld
Oh yeah, he was
spotlight.
strapped to the hill.
I had
He
my
was ready for
headlamp.
battle,
I
tell
had
you.
my Judge, my 45, and my 380, and
Machete.
all I did was spin circles while she arrowhead hunted.
Yeah.
And we like to
Take
go
it
at
easy
night
while I have
because
fun.
Yeah.
you can
He's
see them,
over it now.
especially if you're hunting fields. They kind of at night, especially if it's raining or something like that,
If
they
there's a
shine
heavy
like
hitter,
glass,
Yeah, they
Right.
glisten
and you
like
can see
glass
them
in
really
that headlamp.
nice.
Never
And
been field walking at night or ever
You've
gonna
gotta go.
at night period, but you have to take us sometime.
yes,
And Latisha, and we'll take you and Christina up to our creeks and
Yeah.
See if we can find some good points together.
We would like
Yeah,
to
we
go.
wanna spot some
Absolutely.
spots. We do.
And I sure appreciate you telling your story to everybody, and I'm sure all the viewers appreciate that too, buddy. Thank you a lot.
Thank you, Bart. Thank you.
Okay, we just left Casey's house, and we're going to go out to Geneva at the spot of his encounter. So it's about 30 minutes away, and we'll see what's going on out there tonight. Okay, we made it to Geneva. Ready to turn right on 268 and head down into the bottoms.
Right back here at that little store is where my friend went to work that morning and pulled up in the driveway at Geneva store and seen that Bigfoot leaned over into the garbage can.
Right,
standing
eating out of the
front
dumpster.
there, eating out of the dumpster.
Yeah,
Yep.
really active place here that we're going to. Hopefully we'll see something.
Black cattle. All right, we just passed the old Ozzy Bottom store, and this road should turn to gravel pretty quickly. We're getting really close to the spot where Casey had his sighting. Right over here to my right, just beyond those trees, mighty Ohio River. In fact, you might be able to see it. There it is. Pretty isolated spot, even in deer season. Yeah, you feel like any minute something could just step out in front of you, and here's the gravel.
There's the gravel.
So this is the area he's talking about right here, right?
Right.
Because the camp
Just
is
right there at that tree line is the exact spot he was talking about. Just pull up there and stop.
The campers used to sit over on this side right there.
Yeah, on the right.
Right. Matter of fact, that's where the camper was the night that we came down here after I saw my white Bigfoot and talked to the gentleman that had seen the white Bigfoot the night before my sighting.
Right. Just find a place to pull over. So here we are, the exact spot where the interview that you just heard, where the sighting took place. You can see what kind of place this is. Pretty isolated. Right here next to the river. Pretty creepy. Yeah, we'll be careful. I don't see any hunters' vehicles, but I don't see any hunter vehicles, but we need to be careful. Yeah, so someone's drug straw down here. What's going on here? Oh yeah, something
Something living in there?
something or someone has definitely been in there living.
Oh, wow.
Didn't expect that.
I want to be careful. Wow, I wonder what would be living in that.
I don't know, but they got a little bed up in there and everything.
There's a bed in there?
Yeah, a cushion. Let's go around to the other side.
Is that an old, it's metal. No, it's a tarp over
The
it.
tarp. Wow.
Escape out the back end.
There's the cushion up underneath there. Pretty weird.
Looks like a dog bed back in there.
Yeah, somebody's been up in there for sure. It's actually a pretty big structure, about, I don't know, 15 feet long. Crazy. Okay, as interesting as that was, it's freezing out here. So, need to go warm up. So this is the old Aussie store. As you can see, it's not being used right now. Pull over, baby. Let me walk up there for a minute.
Okay.
Looks pretty creepy. Wonder if those steps are safe. I don't know. They look pretty safe. So, not quite so safe. What do you guys think that structure was? Did someone just make that for their dog? Or what? Leave a comment in the comment section. A little exploring here before we give up. Wow. It's really creepy. Little bird. Wow. Kinds of little neat stuff out here. Okay. Well, sorry I couldn't get in there. Not worth breaking a leg over, I don't guess.
I'd like to get in there, but the steps are broke.
Right. Okay, guys. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for stopping by, and we're gonna have to go get warmed up. See you next time.